You manifested your reality.
I'm
There you
totally
go.
into that.
Welcome to the City Advertising and Promotion Commission. Today is November 14th. We are in the auditorium. Do we have anyone here for public input? Nobody? All right, I guess we'll do roll call.
Bobby
Here.
Foster, Terry McClung,
I'm here.
Bob Thomas. Here. Susan Harmon,
Here.
Greg Moon,
Here.
Carol Wright.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Approval of minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion and a second for approval of the minutes from October 10th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Approval of financials.
The cash balance as of October 31st was $587,362.97. Tax remitted in October, which are September collections. Restaurants, $78,678, up $5,699, or 7.8%. Hotels, $15,150, down $526, or 3.4%. Motels, $41,880, down $3,973, or 8.7%. B&Bs, $6,830, down $807, or 10.6%. Cabins and cottages, $16,092, up $2,701, or 20.2%. Total lodging for October, $79,952, was down $2,604, or 3.2%. Year-to-date lodging collections compared to 2017 are up $24,795, or 4.4%. Year-to-date restaurant collections compared to 2017 are up $13,461, or 2.3%. Year-to-date total collections are up $38,011, or 3.3%.
Does anyone have any questions regarding the financials?
Rick did provide us some information on the auditorium programming, some income versus expenses, but I think we can use that when we talk about the auditorium here in just a little bit. That's something new that, and it may just be that he provided it for tonight, but it's a good piece of information in the packet, so I'm sure we'll get to that soon. Do we need a motion to approve?
Yeah, if nobody has any other questions about the financials?
I'll make a motion that we approve the financials as presented.
Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve financials. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Staff reports.
Karen's not here this evening, but Andy Green does have a report this evening I'd like to share with the commission. So Andy, it's your turn.
So, good evening. I wrote my remarks, so I'm going to read them if you don't mind. I'll go straight through. Thanks for allowing me to speak with you tonight. I would like very much to. I'll begin with a few quick thank yous. First of all, I would like to thank the commissioners and the CAP staff and the part-time workers and the volunteers who helped pull off the full festival this last week. I can't thank you and the community enough for the help, patience, and effort that many of you put into each and every event. I am very grateful. Second, I want to thank the Commission for giving me a chance and resources to present some of the best actors, artists, music, and musicians I've been privileged to hear, see, or work with in a number of years. For this, too, I'm also grateful. I also want to say publicly to those whom I have angered or disappointed in the last 2 seasons that I am sorry, and I'll try to do better, if allowed. Finally, I'm very proud of the lineup of musicians who performed in Eureka in 2017 and 18, and most especially this last week. Thank you to the Commission for the smiles that you helped create and the memories that I and others will always have. If you were there, you know what I'm talking about, and if not, you missed some very special moments.
it wasn't meant to rub salt in the wound, by the way, Terry, I'm sorry. Hopefully there'll be some others down the road. Now to the task at hand. On the evening of October 24th, the last CAPC workshop, I went home from that experience quite dejected, angry, sad, and frustrated. Not good feelings for me, nor what I came to Eureka and hoped to experience. That evening, I struggled through a sleepless night and then took a 3-hour drive the next morning just to clear my head and heart. I was near the end of my rope. At the end of that drive, I'd come to the conclusion that I needed to find something positive to grasp onto and some hope to cling to in this work. I also realized, however, that there was one brief moment of clarity and vision in the otherwise frustrating time of that workshop. It almost went unnoticed, but it was there. The Commission challenged us to craft a plan for the 2019 special events and auditorium programming, and to keep within an overall budget of $200,000. My initial thoughts were to take this job, and well, there is a country song and lyrics that come to mind. However, wiser folks than I have talked me off that ledge for now. It came to me that Ms. Carroll's comment of, we should start a 501c3 to support the odd, was a glimmer of sunshine in an otherwise gloomy room. The staff at the CAPC and others have since discussed the future of the auditorium. The overall 2019 budget and the role that the CAPC Commission and staff could play going forward. We believe that the time is right for some decisive action and to set a new course. Our recommendation to you at this time is to allocate $300,000 for special event budget category and long-term planning for the future of the auditorium. $200,000 earmarked for special events, programs, and odd operations from the 2019 budget as requested, and $100,000 will be earmarked only to begin the long-needed consultation and planning process to craft a long-term vision and strategy for the auditorium, including capital needs, program and operational structure, life safety, security, financial strategy, and restoration planning. We recommend that the additional $100,000 come from the surplus fund and be added to the auditorium budget category for 2019 from the start of the fiscal year. We further recommend that you approve tonight the overall proposed 2019 budget of $1,674,000 and the 6 primary budget category amounts as presented to you in the budget worksheet, so that the 2019 planning and strategy can begin immediately. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to address this commission. Mr. Thomas.
Who is we?
Rick, Mike, myself,
Okay.
staff. CAPC staff that we've been discussing the budget, discussing this budget, that category, the special events, the auditorium.
And all of those we's agreed on what you just said?
Yes.
Jerry?
So we just want to wait until this comes up, because I mean, it's an agenda, it is our, basically our agenda tonight. And discuss it all at that time, because we're going to devote some time to it, so I thought we could get everything else out of the way and then focus on it, if that makes sense to everyone.
Bobby?
Is it in here? I mean, is what he's talking about in here?
The budget is in here, and to discuss.
There's a Plan A and a Plan B.
Yeah, odd events for budget 2019, and that's what he's referring to.
It's the very last
And
column.
it's a lot more in depth, and unfortunately, you weren't here at the last workshop, but that's our big focus tonight.
So this was discussed at the workshop, reviewed at the workshop, and you're asking us to vote on it tonight?
No, the
No.
event, no. We just
Okay,
kind of
so-
went over, we looked at the draft last week. What Andy is talking about was partially discussed at the workshop as far as the
200.
funding, yes, for events and things in the auditorium. The additional $100,000 that he's discussing right now has not been discussed as a commission, either at a meeting or a workshop at this point.
So I just want to make sure, did I understand you, Andy, that you asked if we would vote to approve it tonight? Is that what your comment said?
I made a recommendation. I was asked to present a recommendation.
To vote on it tonight?
My recommendation is that you approve your 2019 budget,
That you approve your 2019 budget as presented in whole. If you want to, in whole and by category, if you want to go back over the next 2, 3, 4 months, however much, and discuss detail line item, but I still think you have to set some direction for the staff at this point. And if we don't have an approved budget, I don't know what I will do for the next 2 months. I mean, I don't know what I'll do for the next month. If we don't have some direction out of this meeting tonight, there's very little that I can do for the next 30 days till you meet again to vote. So I was making a suggestion that I'm presenting a strategy and a vision, and I'm hoping that we could approve an overall budget maybe without getting into the weeds on detail. That's my recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Rick, where's the $100,000 in this budget?
It's in, on Plan A, the Plan A budget. Under the income, it says reserve fund. And then under the expense, it's the very bottom of the odd expense section. It says odd development.
I'm going to just jump in here real quick because I know this discussion is going to go for a while. Mike, is there anything that you want to add to staff reports, or do you want to touch on your director's report before we start budget?
I can do both.
Okay, let's do that
I'm
now
going to
then.
say one thing that maybe is a little bit of an editorial, I guess, from me. One of the reasons we had this conversation with staff, and we've also had a visit with Mayor. Over the past several years, there hasn't been a very defined vision of what this commission wanted to do with this building. We've amassed a fairly significant amount of money, to which there has been no vision for that money. And I think it's contingent upon this commission to take a really deep look at what the significance of this building is for the community as a whole. The direction that Andy has talked about and visited with Rick and I at length is really a way to go ahead and take a foot forward in the direction to create something that this community can truly get behind, can be proud of, and an opportunity for this commission to really suggest and say that we are working in a very positive, forward-moving movement, or progression, I guess, if you will. So that's my editorial. I'll go ahead and give you my director's report. There's several things that went on over the past month or so, and even into this month. One of those things is a significant publication by Outside Magazine. Outside Magazine's been around for a long time. They have 1 million plus circulation. This is a big magazine. They approached Northwest Arkansas about creating a multi-page expose on mountain biking trails throughout the region. Our collective CBBs from Fayetteville to Bentonville have been meeting about this, and we're trying to work out details with Outside Magazine about what this is going to cost the individual communities. It's not going to be cheap, but on the same token, the value of this would be terrific. And the other side of it is because Eureka Springs has the only advanced downhill trails, a significant portion of that editorial content is going to be devoted to Lake Leatherwood.
Say again, did you say the readership? I'm sorry.
1 million plus.
Plus.
Very comprehensive meeting in October with Bruce Dunn. Bruce came to our last meeting. He's the producer of the Eureka, but after that meeting, he expressed significant interest in producing the Fat Tire Festival. We met some time ago, and at this time, Fat Tire would be projected as a June event if Bruce will do this. Now, he's fairly interested in this. Because of issues back to school, as he discussed, the Eureka would likely move to late July. All of this is tentative, of course, but our discussions are moving forward in a very positive direction. NADA, which is the Northwest Arkansas Tourism Association, we held our October meeting here in Eureka on the 25th. About 35 people show. It was a dreary, rainy day. We didn't know if anybody would come or not because they don't like to drive, especially in the mountainous roads, but they did come. Randy Wolfenbarger at the Inn of the Ozarks provided our space at no charge, and Commissioner Bobby Foster provided the coffee for the group, which was greatly appreciated. Very positive session, and we had a first look at the new Northwest Arkansas Tourism Association website scheduled to be completed by January. As a part of a very fast-growing world of entertainment in all of Northwest Arkansas, the Walton Family Foundation has brought in a global company called Sound Diplomacy to begin the process of engaging venues and performers under an umbrella, assisting the entertainment industry to grow exponentially. Eureka Springs, via Andy, has attended one of the two meetings, the last at the University of Arkansas. And the Northwest Arkansas Film Commission recently met and is working with the core organization of this group to help fold in those entertainment resources that can easily be part of film production. And we'll have more substantial information on this shortly. On the heels of the very successful Zombie Parade on October 28th, Turpentine Creek opened for the public a brand new bear habitat. The event attracted hundreds of people from out the entire Northwest Arkansas region. And if I missed you, sorry I missed you. Because of the success of the Zombie Parade, Jeff Danos and Britt Evans from Local Flavor met with Rick and I on the 9th of November. We had a very good meeting, and it was an attempt to explain what the CAPC can do with major events such as the Zombie Parade and others. A myriad of things were discussed, but the great takeaway from the meeting was a much better understanding of the CAPC. We all felt good at the end of the meeting. It was a very positive meeting. We were tickled that Britt came along. Karen Pryor and I met Tuesday afternoon with individuals from Holiday Island. Our discussion centered around the assets of Holiday Island for relocation, and we're going to proceed with data we have obtained from the Rockefeller Foundation with some deep data about Eureka Springs as well as Berryville. I did spend the afternoon on Saturday with Fire Chief Nick Samac at Lake Leatherwood. We were out trailing things with the K-9 search and rescue dogs. It was a very entertaining afternoon. I was there to create a documentary. We did get the 40-foot articulating lift today for the installation of the new Christmas tree, which will be displayed in Basin Spring Park. The lighting ceremony again will be Saturday the 24th with members of the CAPC Commission providing candy canes and hot chocolate. And on the 15th of December, the CAPC produced Eureka Christmas Show. We're working with Barrett Baber of NBC's The Voice and his band. Barrett is an Arkansas native along with Rachel Fields, of course a Eureka local, the Northwest Arkansas Gospel Choir, and another Arkansas native, Shannon Wurst. This is going to be a very powerful show with great Christmas music, a free concert with donations for the Eureka Springs Food Bank, and possibly the Merlin Foundation. And it is our hope that in this particular instance, it's a free concert, and we hope that every commissioner will attend. That's my director's report.
Okay, let's move into new business. Since we have no old business and we've already taken care of director's report. Odd events budget 2019. So we've got Plan A, we've got Plan B. We've got a little bit of an indication as to why there is a difference between the two. And then of course we have the additional items as they're lined out for discussion. One of the items also that was included in the packet, which relates to the odd, is the programming that did happen in 2018, as well as the remainder of the year. And then Rick was kind enough to include some of the expenses and number of tickets that were sold for each of those events, minus Funky Feet, which did have a ticket total of 229 tickets sold, for a income of 7 and expense of 15. I know he's got a few things that still are outstanding on that, but there is that information as well. So, I'm not sure which one y'all want to start with, but I think probably the biggest addition would be we're looking at 501c3? Yes?
No. No, not necessarily. And there's some reasons not to do that.
Okay, what did Andy say?
It was brought to the attention of the last workshop that the potential of a 501c3 could be presented.
Okay.
But in discussion with Mayor Butch and Andy and Rick and I, we've discovered that that's not necessarily necessary.
Okay, so what is, just as a real quick, 501c versus what?
It's not 501c, if I may.
You want to stand up?
If it's not,
It's not one or the other.
No, I know, but you mentioned 501c3, so I'm
It was
just
an
asking.
idea that spurred my, my intent here to encourage the commission to develop a strategy for the auditorium. I can't say without further research or without consultation that the model of a 501c3 foundation is the best fit for Eureka Springs and your auditorium.
Okay, so,
I'm looking for the opportunity to find a strategy that will work best for this community and for the facility that you have and the circumstances that exist around us. So
okay,
that was what spurred my thought process.
Quick question, is there any reason a 501c3 wouldn't work? Is it because it's a governmental organization?
I just don't know if that's the best model for this. If you look around the country, and I want to try to be brief so I can stay on track, there's a variety of structures.
True.
Some facilities are city-owned, some are county-owned, some are owned by an operating company, some are city-owned and operated by an operating company, some have a nonprofit 501c3 affiliated, but this 501c3 doesn't operate the facility. There's a range of models, and I would be the first one to say, I don't know what the best model
Actually,
for
I do.
is.
I'm a plan giving expert, I'm a certified financial planner, and I can tell you that there are a number of different ways to do this, but my interest isn't necessarily the 501c3. What my interest is the best return for people who donate to us and people being able to leave land, of which we have many people in this area that are quite wealthy in land holdings. So I would encourage you to use people on your staff, and on the commission. As you explore this with whoever you do, I've also run any number of capital campaigns for large organizations, including the LA Phil. So I would be happy, and I have asked numerous times to be involved in this way. As we go forward, I would really like to be part of a committee if we decide to go forward and hire a firm to help us. I don't really think we need to do that. But there are a number of organizations in our area that are running capital campaigns right now. The Berryville Library is about to enter into one. We have the community center here. And it'll be very important for someone that knows what they're doing to explore it beyond the 501c3. And there are a number of estate planning attorneys, very good ones in Fayetteville in particular, that I would be happy to refer you out to, who might be very good at giving you a quick answer about what would be the best way to do this.
okay, so maybe we jump the gun on
Disagree with you. I'm just
501c3.
saying I don't have all the answers at this moment.
It's among the things
But
to
I
be
think
considered.
you're right. And your comment 2 weeks ago was one of the reasons I wanted to come
Oh, I know.
with a constructive idea. Thanks.
Okay, Bobby.
I just have to say that I understand that you're saying you recommend that we approve this budget tonight. I just feel like, for me, I feel like on several occasions that I get blindsided at these meetings, that things are brought up that I don't have time to really think about and review and dig into and look at. For instance, the last meeting, the funky feet, sounded like a great idea. Bam, bam, there we went. You know, we want to support. It was not a good idea. You know, I can't sit here tonight and in good faith say, I can approve $100,000 when I don't really know where that $100,000 is going to go. And I can't do that, and I won't do that.
Terry?
I think first, before we make any decisions about anything, is we gotta go through it and listen to it and look at it. I haven't looked at it either.
I'm willing to do that, but I'm telling you right up front, I am not willing to vote on something tonight that I have seen nothing about.
I have to agree with Bobby on that, too.
I'm not gonna argue any
I
of
like
that.
checks and balances.
But we need to,
Especially if some of this $100,000 is going to buy a $50,000 elevator that I've heard about. I am completely against that. And if we're trying to slide that in here, to $100,000 to buy an elevator, I'll put it on record right now. No way.
All right, we've got Plan A, we've got Plan B in front of us. We've got some changes from 2018 to 2019. We've got a slight increase on 2019 we do have an increase on 2019 as a total from 2018 on Plan A. And then we have the same increase on, looks like, let's see if I'm on Plan B. Plan B. Plan B is the lesser of the two. Plan A is the larger of the two as far as the differences between 2018 and 2019. If you want to look at, I actually have some questions. I don't know if anybody else has any questions about the increases.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
On Plan A, Rick, is this column supposed to be filled in? Why is this column blank?
The request was to just approve a static amount for events rather than to do line items,
Right.
so that we don't get stuck into a line item amount that doesn't, just take any of them, for instance, whether it be
All right, so let's
food
look
line
at,
or whatever.
let's look at the section that he's looking at right now. So what Bobby's looking at is on Plan A, the expense under special events. All of those items are blank for 2019. Where does it correlate within the 2019 budget on Plan B? Will you show him where that money, that difference has been
I have a
placed?
question, it's not a correlation. Why would Plan B doesn't, the same option that you have in A here, where it's blank, could be in Plan B.
Absolutely.
So that's, it's the $100,000 that makes the difference.
Right.
In the two budgets.
And really, the only difference is, you're still going to, the programming is in both of them.
Right.
But rather than having a specific line item for $10,000 for blues or 16 for bluegrass, it would just be a cumulative amount of 145.
Right.
And where is that number on Plan B? That's all I'm asking. is
Well,
that you-
it's
Well,
actually
it's 143 because,
143.
actually, we backed out the wedding shows because we're not going to be doing wedding shows
y'all
this
see
year,
it?
but
You all see what he's
Yeah.
talking about?
Yeah,
right
Okay,
right here.
all right.
Yep.
Do you see it on Plan B?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any questions? Terry?
yeah, I mean, what specifically, to the best of the ability, is on development that $100,000 for? What? Surely you've got some things.
Are you
As
want,
far as, to the best of my ability, and I've asked a number of times, what is the long-term plan for the auditorium? And is there an operational structure? Is there a game plan for running this facility that we sit in right now? And I don't hear of one, I don't see one. My suggestion was that you earmark some funding to go and, if a working group or some individuals that want to work on this, staff, commissioners, whatever, say, we'd like to figure out what we're going to do to ensure the success and the future existence of the auditorium. My recommendation was we need to hire somebody from the outside that can come in and evaluate the situation and give us some recommendations on financial options, operational structure, things that need to be done. How do you bring this building along? I agree with Bobby. I don't know that we necessarily want to spend $50,000 on an elevator. That was not the $100,000. I just picked a number that I thought could cover the better part of planning over a course of a year and the expenses that might be ensued. It might not be that amount of money at all. We may find that we can do it for far less, but you have to allocate some funds and some resources to go out and even write a scope of work and accept some RFPs from companies that can give us some direction, that do this all over the country, that take existing facilities, advise councils and commissions on how to create a successful structure that will serve you well over the next 10, 15 years. And I personally think that if we don't have a plan, we're not going to get different results than we get year in and year out right now.
I agree with that.
Did I answer your question?
I can't argue that either. I mean, we've got it sitting in the reserves, and I'm not opposed to using something like this because, I mean, we've got it there, and this is look, I've said it before, and I've gotten in trouble before, but this is the bastard child that everybody wants to have, but nobody wants to pay for it.
Exactly.
And
I want to try to figure out, how do we do that?
Well,
how do we pay
I
for it,
agree.
and how do we make it viable? And I think this is the most valuable asset that this community has as it relates to special events and programs and quality of life. I think that this is the diamond in your backyard, that it needs a little TLC and a little bit of attention right now, and we need to have a plan. We need to know how we can, there have to be options and ways to finance and operate this facility successfully. I'm just making my best effort to see if I can spur that conversation and move that ball down the field. Thank you.
Bobby?
And I would love to have that conversation with somebody that knew what they were doing. And what I think we should do is, I'd like to see us go back at least 5 to 7 years and just look at what kind of income, do a spreadsheet just on the auditorium. What came in, what went out, profit, loss, bam.
It's all loss. It's all one-sided.
I'd like to see that, and I'd like it to be on paper for the last 5 to 7 years, to where we can present that to somebody and say, here's what we've been doing, tell us how we can move forward. Because, don't get me wrong, I love this facility. If you look out there, that my great-grandfather's name is on this facility.
I know.
He helped build it. It's near and dear to my heart, but it's got to be able to make a profit.
And
we can't just throw $100,000 out there.
I think what you're trying to do in separating out for us to see an amount of money to kick off a separate group or committee or whatever it is from the operation of this building. I mean, from the operation of the events that happen in this building. They are two separate things. The problem is, operating any kind of large facility in the modern era is really difficult. The Bowl was a place where I've worked. The Bowl holds 18,000 people. Some acts booked in the Bowl don't make money because they're so expensive to put into that. You look at the size of this auditorium and it automatically tells you this is not a place that's ever going to make a lot of money if you bring in name acts. The fact that you break even occasionally is kind of a miracle. I know that because I've worked in this business before. What we suggested was have a group, whether it's a foundation or a separate committee, and the main thing a group would come in and tell you what to do is how to raise the money to do what you want to do. You just have to figure out what a budget is. What do you want to accomplish with this? Basically, we do not want operational funding to come out of city tax money. Bottom line, that's it. What's it going to cost to fix this building up, put an elevator in it if we need one, and figure out how to pay for it? I can tell you, there are people that live in this community, like Bobby, whose grandpa's name is on the building, people who love this community, who have very deep pockets, and if they don't know they do, you can point that out to them in what they own, land or other property, and they're going nowhere. They're going to retire and die here. They might as well leave their precious town, because it is their most precious items. And that's what this group will teach us how to do.
I think that's fantastic.
You do a case study. The study tells you to do a study of where the bucks are. And you figure out if your town has the money to pay for it. And then you hire somebody that goes out and gets the money. That's how it works.
Bob, did you have a question?
Just one little simple one, because I'm confused. Sometimes you say, we discuss this and this is what we want to do, and then sometimes you say, well, this is my idea and this is what I want to do. What is this, Mike? Is this a recommendation from the entire CAPC members, whatever, administrative staff?
Over the course of the past 2 weeks, we have been trying to figure out the best way to go forward with the plan for 2019, with budget, and with some sort of an idea of how we could go ahead and do something better for this community with this auditorium. So yes, when Andy says we, it is me and it is Rick that have spent hours in discussion on this, and we've torn apart many, many different ideas. At the end of the day, we felt that this was an important meeting to have this evening, to be able to go ahead and at least talk about something that we think your commission should embrace. So when Andy says we, it is Andy,
Right.
it is Rick, it is myself that have joined in this conversation over the past 2 weeks to really bring something to this table of substance and something this community could ultimately be proud of.
Well, I like Carol's idea. I like the idea of going out there and seeing if we can get people to donate and support, not take it out of the taxpayers' pockets, not take it out of the reserve fund. I just don't think that's the right
Well,
thing.
that's, excuse me for interjecting, but that's what the $100,000 or a fraction thereof is for, is to get that ball rolling. It's going to take money to do what Andy says, what Carol says.
Yeah,
I mean, what they're saying is one and the same, basically.
Well, you're
It really
correct,
is.
but one thing you can do as part of your capital campaign is you can build in the cost to repay that money. Universities that I've worked for, when you start like a $50 million capital campaign, at one of the UCI where I worked, we had a $50 million capital campaign with $0 to buy materials for, just advertising. We had nobody doing a website. So the school loaned us money. The foundation was loaned about $25,000, and then we went back, we asked for another $25,000 in the second year. But we needed operating income, but we had to pay that back actually with interest, and it's something that you can build into your budget. But yeah, it does require, depending on the level of professionalism you want from the people that do the case study for you and do the research, and there are actually a couple of really good firms here in Arkansas that I know of that are really good, who do libraries and symphonies and things like that, who work someone in the entertainment business.
I think you're a very valuable tool to this effort, that they're, and if they don't use you and abuse you, they're crazy. I mean,
Well-
quite frankly, to do just that.
Well, personally, this would be a great honor for me. I can't imagine a better way to end my life or my career than working to save this building, because I can tell you for a fact, I've played in the Galveston Symphony House, I've played in the LA Philharmonic House, which is too big to be acoustically good. This is a really good hall. It is a really good hall in which to play. It's not big enough backstage. We've got a lot of other issues, but this is really, and I see it as way more than the entertainment center. This is the heart of this town. And so many people, just read the Facebooks when somebody goes to Little Feet or one of the other things that we have here. People go, oh, it brought back my youth. That was the happiest time of my life. I love reading what people are writing while they're sitting in the audience here. We're not tapping into what people really care about. On the lucky occasion when you book somebody that, people just go wild about, because you never know, You know, what they're coming for is not to see that group. They're coming to feel like they felt when they were 20 or when they were 35 or whatever it is. And there is so much love attached to this building and fun. I mean, there's almost nothing negative about it except all the bills we've got to pay.
In fact. Well, so,
I mean, I don't really want to get hung up on just the odd tonight,
No, we got it.
so.
yeah, we've got the budget, but.
We do.
But Bobby brought up the one thing that I think that is important in conjunction to the programming and what Andy has in mind there, is that elevator that we're looking at for the basement, in conjunction, the city's looking at doing the basement and making the meeting rooms down there, so we don't have to have this arrangement. We've got a real place that we can do it and facilitate the public and, I mean, look around you. This is really not an ideal meeting space. So, I think the CAPC, in conjunction with the city, if the elevator is affordable and the remodel is an affordable project, that I think we need to participate in that, because it makes the basement functional for a lot of different things that currently it's not useless, but it's nearly useless. Or it's obsolete to the fact that it's very rarely used, and its purpose is very limited.
And you might think about, there probably is someone in this town who would pay for that elevator because they might need it, or they might have wished we had one when they wanted to come to something. I would definitely see that as part of capital improvements rather than having the city pay for it. The man.
I really appreciate what y'all are doing. Kind of like Bobby, this building's near and dear to me. I was sitting in the auditorium Friday night. What number folk festival was this? 60?
71.
71.
Well, I can remember sitting in the balcony with my grandmother, and I have no idea what year it was, but I wasn't very old, listening to the Hedgehoppers. And Joe Head and George Head and a lot of, Bobby was one of
I
those.
square danced up there for many years.
And that's what I was thinking.
5 years old.
And the band that was playing was the Square Dance Band, and they were calling them and brought back a lot of memories.
Put them in a ring, boys, put them in a ring.
And some of the things in, Carol, what you're saying, it's not wrong. Now, what you may not know is we had a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It just got disbanded last year. It was called the Odd. And that's how the Odd got here, it was a foundation. It started because somebody did contribute some money. We never got any more money in it in 20 years. Nobody ever contributed to it. So I think what I'm hearing and what Andy was talking about, what is our plan? Where are we going to go? Where in 5, 10, 15 years? What is the plan for this building? The elevator, and this is a new thing that I just found out today, I hadn't even told the council, there's a good opportunity we're going to be getting, well, I shouldn't say good opportunity, we're going to be applying for a historic preservation grant for the elevator and for the bathrooms downstairs. So that's going to help us possibly a lot to get that. If we get that, then that opens up. We've talked about this building being some people say a convention center, but then it starts using that basement and using that facility, bringing people in, part of what the mission statement is. But the overall, and I think that $100,000 is what I'm saying is having some expert come in, because I've been involved with these fundraisers before. I've been involved with, and some of them don't go anywhere, and some of them do. But getting a consultant to tell us what is the best way. And many of you probably know when I first became mayor 4 years ago, I had a meeting down here about trying to do an auditorium commission or committee. That didn't kind of go anywhere because it needs a steady funding source. A commission won't work in this town without a steady revenue source. You got to have money, or otherwise the commission's no good. It doesn't have anything to do. It's got to have something there. That's how the CAPC, and I hate to say it, got stuck with the auditorium. It's because they've got a funding source, and it also brings people in, and they do the special events and all this. So if we have a consultant to help us, is it a private partner, public-private? Is it a 501 in conjunction with the city? Who runs it? Who manages it? At one time, I said, I'm willing to give the building to somebody for $1 a year if they'll take it and run with it. Well, I had a couple of bites on that. That one didn't work out. And I probably shot my mouth before I thought about it all the way through it. But there are, and that's what I think this $100,000, up to $100,000 for, is get somebody to tell us what is the best way to make this self-sufficient, self-sustaining. We don't need to make a profit all the time. If we can break even, we'd be lucky, we'd be happy. I mean, if we lost $5,000 a year, we'd be happy, you know, or $10,000. But it's not, what can we do to make the best thing? Part of it's the basement. How can we bring conventions in here, charge them? What can we do with the events? It's a whole range of deals, and I think that's where the consultant comes in. Somebody, because I don't have the answer. I don't know. I've seen the 501c3 in Eureka for this building, and it just lags. I've tried to run it with a commission, an auditorium commission. It won't work without funding. A committee, well, we know where committees go. So far, the CAPC has been the best fit to try to help, and that's where we are right now. But a consultant can say, no, we really need to set up a commission with X, Y, Z, and maybe we need to come back with, and I hate to say this, and, especially with the press, but maybe a dedicated sales tax. You know, I think I tried that once before. But maybe if we had that, an 1/8 of a cent sales tax, or a quarter, then that would help. Then we could get the commission going. But anyway, I don't know. But that's where a consultant would help us.
Could we find this consultant first, Butch, and find out what they would charge us?
Oh, absolutely.
Instead of just saying, here's $100,000.
Oh, no, and I'm not saying 100,000.
Well, I'm just saying, could we find these consultants first and have them give us a
Absolutely.
bid and say, here's what it's going to cost, and we're going to give you some great ideas?
Yeah, there's consultants out there, and they can, it's like getting an architect. I mean, you'd say, what can we do? You just get an RFQ, request for qualifications. Right. You probably know that also.
Well, I think I've been involved a little bit in what Berryville is trying to do with their library. The firm that they've hired out of Little Rock has handled a lot of smaller town types of things for libraries and other things. I think the cost to the library so far has probably been around $30,000. I'm not sure. The 100 would be, I would say, if you need it, because the one thing that's missing, folks, you got to have somebody going out and asking people for money. You've got to pay that person or involve the commission in doing it and make sure they're out asking people for the right amount of money.
But they won't give you money if you don't have a plan.
Absolutely.
And I'm involved with the Opera in the Ozarks, and they're getting ready to build a giant new facility out there. They've got a consultant that's out of Philadelphia and San Francisco. And they've got a core group looking and seeing how to do it and what to do, the programming, funding, operations, cost, and all that. And that's what the consultant does.
Right.
Maybe that guy, since they're working on the Opera of the Ozarks, maybe he'll come in and look at the auditorium on a good basis too. I mean, he's already there, so.
But they're making one mistake. This is the biggest mistake people make when they raise money. They don't have a person who lives locally that's doing it. Now, they may hire somebody to do it.
I'm not talking about raising money. I'm talking about the consultant telling them how to put the program together.
True, but still, it's important that the person who does that understands the community they're raising money from. Because they will spend your money, trust me, a lot of it. I've worked for these firms. They'll spend a lot of your money telling you people that you already know that can give to you.
Well, but what the confusion is, I'm not talking about raising money. What I'm talking about is just coming up with a plan right now. Once you get the plan, then you can get whoever the fundraiser is, or the director, or whoever that is. But we need a plan first, in my opinion.
I really don't have any thing negative about coming up with a plan. I'm a little surprised that the CAPC, I shouldn't say surprise. You know, we put a lot of money into the building as it is. We have events, we pay a lot per year. And I'm kind of surprised that this is solely being requested of the CAPC as opposed to not having a joint with the city. Because the city essentially owns the building, right? So I'm a little surprised that it isn't a joint effort monetarily and effort-wise with the city itself. So that's just my thought on that. I think the 100,000, you know, may or may not be needed, but we're not there yet. We don't really have any information. So, you know, I'm kind of with Bobby. I'd like to see maybe a little more information. I think if we took a vote of the commission this evening as far as yay or nay, we probably are 100% behind it as far as wanting to do something for the auditorium and wanting to come up with a plan. I'm just not, again, personally, I'm just not sure it is a financial responsibility fully of the CAPC.
And we're trying to say there is a way that it cannot be.
Right.
This is the way it cannot be. The city's responsibility or CAPC. Tax money is never going to do to this building what needs to be done. We don't have enough money to do it. The only way to do it is to separate it out into some sort of 501c3 or 501c4, whatever vehicle you end up with, and let that entity raise money. People can't give $100,000 to the city and write it off. That's just like, there's no incentive, there's no tax incentive to doing that. So the purpose for these other entities is so that you can write that off of your taxes, which is a big benefit to people. And trust me, people who live here, I've known 3 or 4 people that have lately retired and left. Les Brandt is an example. They sell their homes here. They make huge money on the sales, but they pay 50 to 75% of that in taxes because what they're moving into is a smaller home in Arizona. So the point is we have got a lot of people here who have tax incentive and the heart to give to this organization. So enough said, I'll be quiet.
Well, I think what we need to look at here is this, is that the money that would cover that part of it is sitting in our reserves, and we can draw that at any time. So we can proceed with the rest of the budget. And, you know, we have the understanding that if we can come up with the plan of attack, then we can fund it and draw that out of the reserves at any time. That doesn't have to be necessarily in the budget itself. I'm concerned with the 200,000, and if we're going to be able to, if we can get this budget approved and make it where Andy can start lining up acts and, you know, and put the heat on him with the deadline. If we approve the budget, you know, can you have the program outlined by the 1st of February or something like that, so it can be printed and with projected dates for tickets to go on sale a lot earlier than ever before, and, you know, get it in people's minds. All the concerts that I receive information from are 4 to 6 months or more out. And if I don't buy my tickets within the first 30 days of when, or less, of when I get that promotion, if it's something I want to go to, then I won't get a choice seat. I'll miss out.
So do you want to separate?
Those are all
do we want to,
organizations that currently have their 2019 budget approved.
That's right. That's
so
right.
do you want to separate out the 200 from the 100 now? Do we need to?
I think
Absolutely do
I
that.
think we can, when if they have an understanding, if the staff has an understanding that, yes, we're willing to follow through and try and do something in that respect where they can kind of get a comprehensive plan of attack, then we'll fund it.
Could I would like to make a motion that we hire a consulting firm of some kind to come up with a plan for us to move forward.
I don't,
On the odd,
the,
On how to.
on a mechanism.
this,
Okay.
do you need to vote on that? Because I have a suggestion.
Well, I don't have a second yet, so.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Oh, don't second it.
This can be discussed.
Why don't we have a workshop in January? I will be glad to have 3 consultants here. And we can bring the people that are doing the opera in the Ozarks. They're happy to come.
But I think we're talking about 2 separate things.
Yeah.
What Terry is talking about.
Yeah, I was talking about what Bobby's talking
Yeah,
about.
what Terry is talking about
Yeah.
initially was.
She made a motion.
Yeah, she made a motion and I second it, and I can pull it back if she wants to change
I think we,
something and do something different.
Why don't we
I'm not
bring in-
opposed to that.
3 potential consulting firms and have them talk to us at a workshop. See what y'all think. There's no harm, no foul, no money spent.
What,
The question that Terry brought up, though, or the item that Terry brought up is odd funding for events.
Right.
Right.
Separate of,
she understands.
And that,
Yeah.
I got it. Okay.
so if we
wanna
want
do that,
to go ahead and approve that, we
Yeah,
could do
yeah.
that this evening
Okay.
if we chose to do that, and then discuss the rest of the budget and/or approve it at a later date.
Got it.
That's fine.
So that's
So-
what we just,
Yeah.
so we just need to vote, right?
Do we have any questions, though? Because I know
still
Bobby
think I
didn't.
have a motion on the table.
And you got a
Well,
second.
because I know you didn't go to the, you weren't at the workshop, so,
I'm sorry, her motion is on the table. It has.
And you've got a second.
Well, and I'll pull the second back
No, it's good.
if what Carol is suggesting is suitable, is for that part of it, the $100,000, that kind of thing, is Carol says she can have people here that can talk about this kind of thing to give us some ideas and then give us the direction that we need to go and then how we might spend that 100,000, or not spend the 100, but
come up with an amount.
But I do agree with you, Terry, that we need to get Andy his budget if we can.
absolutely, we need to get that $200,000.
It's not just me, it's Mike too. and-
Yeah, it's the staff, we got,
All right, so we've got a motion.
this is something that I have pushed for years, since I was on the commission and the city council, in 2005. Is to have the lineup done so we can publish it and have bills on it.
A point of order.
And send it out.
It's okay, he's,
No, I called a point of order.
okay.
We've
got a motion and we've got a second.
We're carrying on 2 conversations at the same time,
We've got a motion and we've got a second.
and we're
As
talking
to-
about something different.
Yeah.
Let's focus on the
We've got a motion and we've got a second as to whether or not we will,
I withdraw
Explore.
my second.
okay,
I'm not gonna sit here.
Okay, now,
go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we take Plan A, scratch out the $100,000, and go over it tonight and pass it, if we can.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and we've got a second.
Could I ask a question?
Well,
Okay.
hold on, Terry, what was your,
My question is for Andy. If we can pass this, what is your projection on having things lined out for shows?
can you go up to the mic?
I already have a calendar of events set up. I can go to work immediately. I mean, I can't tell you exactly when I'll get it all put to bed, but the event structure, as you see it, the budget that you look at, whether you're looking at Plan A or Plan B, is a reduction in dollars in the special events category, and as a result, there'll be a slight reduction in some of the events. But I can go to work immediately. I mean, I would love to have it all done by the end of January, if I can. I mean, I might not have every auditorium event figured out But I agree with you, and I think we're better off, what we discussed 2 weeks ago is trying to figure out quality over quantity in terms of the auditorium shows. Really look for those acts that we think really will perform both artistically and financially here for us. But it's a juggling act, between schedule, availability, and money, so. But I don't see why I can't get it done by the end of January.
That's what I'd love to see, because I would like to see, a brochure or something that says, here's our lineup for.
You all know this. The challenge is that in the next 2 months, we really don't have 2 months of working days. We have a lot of people who, just aren't available. They just don't go to the
Right.
office, they're not
We may
there.
be working, but they may not be.
Exactly. So I have to recognize that it takes a little bit of time, and sometimes it's January 2 before everybody goes right back to the grindstone, and so.
Andy?
But there's a lot of agents that I can talk to now, and a lot of artists that are available and are looking to set their 2019 calendars. That's very possible.
So I'm,
Hold on,
Plan A is,
Carol.
okay, go.
Bobby had a question.
Oh,
first.
sorry.
So I want to make sure I'm understanding this conversation between you and Terry, Andy. This is without the $100,000. You can move forward without it, is what you're
That was a
saying.
line item for me to encourage you to dedicate an effort to create a plan,
Okay,
to develop a plan.
so you can move
And-
forward
and-
without it.
Yes,
Sure,
of
okay.
course I can move forward with
I just
that.
wanted to make sure that I was on the same page with.
They're
what
not
y'all were-
connected. They're
Okay.
not connected, but I still believe very strongly that the future for Eureka Springs is to develop this facility
I
to the
totally-
best of its ability.
I agree with that.
And,
I just can't blatantly give out $100,000 tonight.
well,
I
I'm
don't
not
feel good
saying
about
give it
that.
away. I'm just saying earmark it for work that would then be approved and determined.
If I had some facts
You
in
do an
front of me,
RFP.
I'd be happy to do that.
You get a consultant to
I
give
need
you
facts,
fees.
Yeah.
Carol?
I'm sorry.
So I understand this year's budget was 163.2. It looks like we'll do a lesser budget because of how you're going to group things next year. How did we do with the 163.2, or how will we do with all the Christmas stuff in? Are we going to be within that budget, or are we going to be over this year?
I think we're going to be over budget slightly, but I don't have a
Do you have
final
any
number.
idea, ballpark?
I don't, because I haven't seen the contracts, but that was our point of not dedicating this special event to specific line items.
Right.
Because simply put, just like Christmas for $10,000, you can't put on a Christmas show for $10,000. That's going to fill this auditorium, or put a lot of people in this auditorium. So we're hamstruck with these individual line items, which none of them are enough
I
to
get
do.
that. I'm just wondering why we're going from 163 to 143 or 145, and we're going to be over budget this year. So I'm just trying to figure out how that worked.
I'm not going to do more with less. I'm going to do less with less.
Well, Carol, where that came about is we gutted media last year
I
to
remember.
bring that 160.
No, I remember
play.
that.
And we,
And Mike
as a
does-
group, felt that it was important to restore some of the media
Got it.
budget.
Okay,
And,
yeah.
and as a result, I serve at the pleasure of the commission and Mike and Rick. And if they feel strongly that they need those dollars in other parts of this overall budget, then I said, okay, well then we'll cut it and I will develop a plan based on what I have to work with.
Do you feel some of the events that didn't do as well as you had hoped would have benefited by earlier advertisement or more advertisement? Is that part of the reason you decided to go with them?
Yes, but earlier advertisement also means a longer run and more expense. So you rob Peter to pay Paul. And it's again, I'm trying to stress that it's not, each of these challenges, each of these things that we're trying to tackle are not as simple as one line item. They're bigger pictures. Things affect them that, other parts of the budget affected. How early did you get your marketing at? Did you get it in the right place? I don't know. If you ran it longer, would you have sold more tickets? But would that ticket sales have been more than the amount that you lost? Well, maybe not. Maybe it's a wash. You just spent more money and you took in a little more money and you didn't really gain any ground. In the end, all of this is about the ability to promote Eureka Springs and to try to attract people to the destination. And so we're not always just gauging success by ticket sales. Did people come to town? And since there is no ticket sales at the Basin Park, did we really track the number of people that sat and watched or strolled through or came because of the music, but then got sidetracked at the downhill or at the park or at the hotel and decided they'd rather eat dinner than watch the music? You can't judge that. So I don't know the answer to that question. I do believe that we need to get out in front earlier. Having the program put to bed earlier, as Terry suggested, is something that we all agree upon. Having good programming, but maybe a little less of it, so we can get after it earlier, maybe that's a good thing. And I'm trying to be a team player. And so I'm not here to just spend the money. I came here to try to help this team do what you want to do, and that's attract people to visit Eureka Springs.
All right, we've got a motion and we've got a second, and I need to clarify with Bob as far as what your motion was. You said your motion was to approve the budget Plan A and scratch the 100?
No, I said, let's scratch the 100 and discuss Plan A and try to approve it tonight. That was my motion.
Okay, because Plan B is minus the,
The 100,000.
But it has the specific funding for
Ah.
events.
It doesn't have the events just globbed together.
yeah.
Okay. So that's, I
Okay,
second.
so I've got a motion and I've got a second. Does everybody understand what his motion is? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
So I'll make a motion now to discuss Budget A.
Can I get a second? Anyone?
Discuss,
I made a motion to discuss Plan A. Budget.
yeah, I thought that's what we were doing already.
Whatever.
Thought that's what the last motion was.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so let's go through the items. Does anyone have any particular items that they want to discuss outside of the special events that we've talked about in quite some length?
I do, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Terry.
And I haven't talked with the mayor about this, and I don't know where we are with the city on that elevator. Do we need to try and see about allocating something, or not worry about that at this time and try and come up when we get more concrete later? Because it's not in here.
I should have estimates, I'm hoping within the next week to 10 days on the project for the Historic Preservation Program. So at that time, we'll know where we are on that.
I think we'll just have to float with that at this point.
Yeah.
You got something?
Do you have any questions? Anyone have any particulars?
Just on that subject, we've worked hard to get some media put back in here, and if we were to put the elevator within the budget, we would have to gut media again. So if y'all decide to look at the elevator thing, I would just hope it would come out of reserves and not out of our advertising. So, that's just I don't vote, but
We're maxed at where we
Right.
think we are going to be.
If you put that in the budget, we have to cut somewhere, and it's either special events or media, basically, because your other costs
Didn't
are all.
Butch just say he thought we were going to get it donated? Perhaps?
Bob, do you have a question?
I'll ask Butch. I think, doesn't city council have a plan that they're gonna sell a house to pay for the elevator?
Well, we're not sure on that one, but that's one possibility.
Right.
But that's not going to cover the entire cost.
Of an elevator?
No. That's correct.
I thought
I mean, the house is not appraised for that much, Bob.
The elevator was about $60,000.
That's just for the basic box.
Right.
By the time you do the bathrooms, the ramp, and everything else, you may be looking at $100,000 to $150,000
Oh, okay, so.
total.
When you say
Now, the
elevator, you're
grant-
talking about the whole project.
Would be a matching grant And I think it's a two-thirds match with the historic preservation. And of course, like anything else, it's a grant. We don't know if we'll get it or not. The other thing is that the city is willing to come up with part of the money, and my suggestion was having the CAPC help, because it's also going to benefit the CAPC. They're going to be using it to use the equipment to go downstairs, and, it's a multi-use facility. So that's it.
Sorry,
But
let me
anyway,
ask you a
that's-
question. I just want
We don't know for sure.
I just want to clarify what you just said. You said that you don't have a sound quote at this point, but you're thinking with an elevator, with a ramp, with bathrooms, you're at maybe $150,000?
150 probably maximum, but I'm not sure on that estimate, because we
Okay.
haven't gotten anything back yet.
And you're hoping that the CAPC would contribute how much?
We're probably maybe 20 to 30,000 is what we're looking at.
That you would request from the CAPC, possibly?
Yeah.
Okay. Does that help? Bob,
Because the
a little bit
city,
better?
if we sell the house, there's 100,000,
Okay.
and maybe come up with another 20,000.
Okay.
So we'd be paying two-thirds, or, two-thirds of it, and asking a third from the council.
And the grant that
knows?
you have out there?
Well, again, it's a grant. We don't know if we're going to get it. But
Okay.
if it's 150,000, they'll give us 100,000, we come up with 50. I think that's two-thirds.
One more question. And when you use the term convention center, how many people could sit down there comfortably, do you think?
Downstairs?
500?
Yeah.
That'd be pushing it.
I'd say three to 500,
Okay.
yeah.
500.
And we've got 900 and
Certainly.
something upstairs. And we've used this building as part of the convention center before. When we have Springtime of the Ozarks, we use not only the convention center, but this building. And it's filled 2 days,
deals.
2 nights of that week.
So 3 to 500.
Yeah.
Okay. So, right now the budget that we are looking at is, which one? Plan A?
Yes.
I make a motion, we accept the Plan A budget minus the $100,000.
I'll second it.
All right, we've got a motion, we've got a second to accept Plan A budget minus the 100,000 that was added. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Okay, we did director's report already. I would say probably the only thing I would say, Rick, for our next meeting is to make sure that we've got that auditorium discussion as far as the mechanism to fund.
Okay.
Okay?
And when is our next workshop?
I
It's on
had
the
it
bottom
on
of
there.
that, agenda.
Oh, yeah, November 28th.
Got it.
There was a question about that. Is that suitable for everyone? Just because of the holiday, et
Holidays.
cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's,
Okay. All right, so I guess we're done with everything else that's on our list. So we're going to move to commissioners' comments. Bob?
No comment.
Carol?
No comment.
Bobby?
Yes, I have a comment. I just want to say I appreciate Andy and what Andy is trying to do here. I don't in any way want to think that I'm trying to thwart anybody. I'm a numbers girl. I like to know the facts. And when I have those numbers and know those facts, I'll be happy to move forward with this project because I agree that this is a wonderful facility and I'd like to see it used more, but I need to know that we're doing it the right way. Thank you.
Greg?
No comment.
Terry?
I Yeah, I concur with Bobby, the auditorium, we all love it to death, we really do. We want it to produce all the income that it can and produce the best shows that it can, and because Lord knows I've seen tons of them here. I can't begin to count all the fine productions I've seen in this theater and the ones that I hope to see in the future. I missed one this last Saturday that I couldn't be here for, but because I was elsewhere. It's one of those things that, what a gift it would be to be in two places at once, but I'm not able to do that. But we're trying. Just, realize out there that the equation is extremely difficult, and we all want what's best for the auditorium and for the city, and we're trying. And happy Thanksgiving to one and all.
Rick, do you have anything extra?
I am good. Thank
Mike, do you have anything extra? Nope. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Right.